Hello and welcome to the Long Ball Street podcast. Today we're joined by none other than Andy Sinton and James. You know James. Andy Sinton was an icon to many Tottenham fans, QPR fans especially, and Brentford.
Brentford as well. Adam's Brentford as well, yeah.
We're probably represented. We do have someone else who's usually on the pod, Andy. Matt B's a Huddersfield fan.
Yeah, you didn't play for them, so what's the point?
Yeah, what is the point? How are you doing?
And very good, thank you.
Things?
Yeah, really good. Enjoying life and good to be in.
Good. You enjoying the football at the moment? Do you watch it? Do you keep up with it all?
Didn't enjoy Friday night because we lost. Performance was quite good, but yeah, all good.
When you say we, is this QPR?
It's definitely QPR at the moment. Yeah.
First one, we did all right on Saturday.
Yeah, you're not doing too bad still.
No, we're doing all right. I did actually make the massive faux pas this week of starting to dig out Arsenal fans. So I've made a massive mistake in the past of going too early, and then it all come crumbling down. And I did it again.
It's dangerous, but no.
Did it again last night.
Yeah, you told me. So you put out a tweet. Go on, explain.
I put out a tweet. You know they've got this thing called Mind the Gap at Tottenham. So the gap being 12 points where it was, and then that gap disintegrated in Arsenal. So I did it again last night. I had a few to drink, and I was beaming off of their 3-0 loss, and yeah.
Surely this time. Were you aware of that whole thing when you were at Spurs, that you were of trying to finish above Arsenal?
Yeah, of course you are. You get it rammed down your throat almost every day. As players, you're just looking at the next game, big game when you played against Arsenal or whoever you're playing in a local derby. Bragging rights. Playing the Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United derby. That was huge as well. We used to have a painter that used to support Wednesday, and he wouldn't set foot in Bramall Lane. So it's that sort of crazy things as fans that you find out about.
Yeah.
What were they like playing in the North London derby?
Yeah, hostile, good. My time at Tottenham, we don't think we come out on top many times, to be honest. It was in the Wenger era where he was just over and getting them going, sort of thing. But you speak to any player plays in a local derby, they're the games you want to play in.
I didn't want to bring this up, but it just pops into my head. You played with Sol Campbell at Tottenham, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Is this a loaded question?
It's not his. That's not his fault.
Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you stop it, Andy?
He's just about to sign. Andy runs through the door. No, just to catch the pen. Amazing.
Yeah, sorry.
Did he go? Were you still there when he left?
No, he left after I had left.
So you can't be. I just want to make it clear. So Andy Sinton cannot be blamed in any way, shape or form for Sol Campbell leaving Spurs for us.
Fair enough.
Good.
Fair enough. But obviously QPR, it's a time when you spent most of the club, and James was obviously quite excited about this, and it's always exciting speaking to an ex-player.
Yeah, this is a weird thing of being at Ball Street now, is that there is a better opportunity to meet guys that you watched. And we were saying just before we started how. So I became a QPR fan in 1993, and you left for Sheffield Wednesday in end of 94,
yeah.
Was it? Yeah. And I was 6 or 7, and I remember just being so confused. I just didn't understand it. We had a really good team, Andy, and you left.
This isn't a hatchet job. It's going to get more positive.
It'll get better. Yeah, I promise. But how did that move happen? And were there moments in your career where you? Because there always seems to be this thing where, well, we've got a bid for you, so you have to go. And that seems quite strange, doesn't it? In any other work job, you would kind of go, well, no, actually, I'm quite happy, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay.
Thanks for the offer.
No, whereas money comes in and you just have to go. I'm guessing at saying that that's something that you were doing there, but Sheffield Wednesday obviously a massive club.
What was it?
What is the process of leaving? Have you done both of those? One where you kind of wanted to leave, and another one where you kind of had to.
And the QPR one, albeit at the time for a hell of a lot of money, was one that I didn't really want to go. But I was in the England side. You're away with all the England boys, and you talk, and you find out what people are getting and doing. And bearing in mind, we're 20 odd years ago, nothing like what we're doing now. So you come back and you go, you know what? I'm in the England side. I'm part of London's top club. But yeah, I'm getting half as much as these guys. That's in any walk of life doesn't. Yeah. If you're one of the best in the country, reward you. So I went back to QPR, and we had chats, and I sort of made that point, but I still had 2 years to go on my contract. So I was mindful. The lads used to say, oh, here, someone's put a bid in you. There was a lot of paper talk. I was just getting on with my football.
Because of course, you were in the England squad at that time.
I just moved house, so it's still had more boxes to unpack than to admire in the house, So how did it came about? That was it. I spoke to a real influential guy in my career, Jerry Francis, who was my manager at the time, and put my point across, and he was really sympathetic. I think he spoke to the club, and at the time, I think the answer came back that they couldn't afford any more than I was getting. And after that meeting, I was tipped off within an hour of that meeting, 4 clubs had been contacted.
Wow,
really?
To start the bid, and so next day, Trevor Sinclair walks through the door. So I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
So this is all one massive coincidence.
Well,
or are you talking like an hour you've gone in and they've got like, what?
Yeah, so we had a chat.
We've got to
then I was called by someone who was representing me, saying they've had a call from the club, and they're now going to take the bids or see who can come in with the most. So I'm just sitting there, just waiting. 2 years to go. Didn't have to go. I just said I'd made my point. I was in the England side, so I didn't have to move to get in the England team.
Yeah.
I was part of the team who was top club in London,
yeah.
So I didn't have to go and join another club to be closer to winning sort of stuff. So yeah, that's how it panned out.
Mm. Is it difficult for a player to, if they don't want to be there, to have the professional pride to keep going in? And it's not like an office job where you sit and you do your emails. You've got to stay in shape. You've got to eat right. You've got to do all these things.
Furious inside.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got to perform physically. So.
Now, what you have to do things properly.
Yeah.
And if
but that can't always happen, can it? Because
and it probably doesn't happen in this day and age because of the resources, the finances that are involved. But let's say 20 odd years ago, if QPR had come back and just say, you know what, we understand what you're saying. There's nothing more we can do, but you're going to stay here for 2 years. You know what? I would have just gone, great. Get on with it. I'm very happy. I live just up the road. I've just moved house. I've got a small family. I've just got my first child on the way. You don't want to be unsettled. You don't want to be up north with your wife down south looking after your first child, first baby. So I say that's how it panned out. Unfortunately, it may not have been portrayed like that, but that's how it was.
Did you ever read stuff in the papers that you just knew wasn't true? Or
didn't read stuff in the papers, but you hear about stuff, and people can't help telling you stuff. And I always remember the first time I came back to QPR, the reaction wasn't particularly great.
I
after that,
last week, do you remember?
Yeah,
Was it the Wolves?
I came back with Sheffield Wednesday
right.
On New Year's Day. After that, it was brilliant. It was just that first initial time that I came back. But say that's water under the bridge.
Did you?
Never, no, absolutely not.
He's actually offended that I would even ask.
No, because I remember getting really, really upset. I remember being like,
did you cry?
I didn't cry. No, honestly, I didn't.
That's
cry.
fine if you did.
No, but I didn't. I remember being just disappointed at the fans for doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe that links in quite nicely to Arsenal last night and that defeat, and so there's obviously been the story of the season, isn't it? Wenger in, Wenger out. Is he gonna sign his contract, or has he already signed it? Or whatever.
Where are you at? Wenger in or Wenger out, Andy?
Well, first of all, I would like to say it's got nothing to do with me, but I've got an opinion.
Good.
Arsene Wenger, I think, has been, clues in the word in there, has been an absolute genius in what he's done in this country. When he came over 20 odd years ago, what he did at Arsenal was phenomenal. Maybe he's just going on that little bit too long where he's in danger of undoing all that fantastic work, all of his legacy that would go. Maybe if you're saying what should I, if you were advised, I would say, you know what, announce now that you're going to go at the end of the season. I think everyone would really laud him, accept that, and the club has to move on. But then who do you get?
Well, you're bound, because there's such a seismic shift away from it into a new philosophy, a new man. They've got to be incredibly strong to come in and change the way that club runs, because it is Arsene Wenger FC as well as it is
from top
Arsenal
to bottom,
Football Club. And I know Arsenal fans say it's not Arsene Wenger FC, but he's delivered everything essentially. He changed the club. They had that period under Graham beforehand where they were a good team. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't like Arsenal.
George built the foundations. Arsene sort of tweaked the way they played and got a more entertaining brand and style.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the rest is history.
I'm inclined to agree with you now as well.
No, but
I don't think it's doing their club, and as say who might say.
You see this in sports. You see it in politics. If you stay too long, it always boxers who box too long, and knowing the right time to bow out is almost the most difficult thing to do.
Yeah,
Alex Ferguson springs to mind.
Absolutely.
He got out at the perfect time. Just won the league. He knew that squad needed regenerating again, so he bowed out at the top.
Perfect, really.
Yeah, I saw it on a tweet. I think it's from a film. But it's like, do you leave early enough to be a hero, or do you stay long enough to become a villain?
That is quite nice.
That's kind of what's happened there.
Yeah,
in a big way. But yeah, last night it felt like the fans had got exhausted of Wenger and they turned on the players. And what I wanted to ask you was how influential are fans to a player's performance? Because I think as much as the negativity towards Wenger has affected them, Wenger may be a little bit outdated in what he's doing now, and he's not. It's definitely become stagnant in that sense. I think Arsenal fans, to a point, are getting the negativity from them is radiating to the players, and it's affecting them because they can feel it too. Surely,
I think you can see that, and it's evident. Look at the results. Not only results, look at the performances. Because they're getting to be too easy at the moment. I just see the highlights, so maybe I'm speaking a little bit out of turn, but from what they were to what they are now, and that can only be the not knowing. It's almost like a ship that's been.
And what's it like as a player when your manager is, to a point, being kind of not respected, being ridiculed in the press a bit? I think with England, Graham Taylor went through a lot of difficult press.
Yeah.
How did that affect you as a player in the England squad?
It doesn't affect you because sometimes, and I don't say this with any sort of pride, I think players can be quite selfish sometimes. So players will be quite happy to get let off and let the manager take the heat. It's just the nature of the beast, I think players should come out and say, it's got nothing to do with the manager. We're the ones that step over the pitch. He's given us all the right information. We're the ones underperforming. But sometimes players, and even when I played, you're quite happy. Anyone in life likes to stand behind someone, don't they?
Of course, yeah. And I guess as a figurehead of the football club, it always has to be the manager who eventually takes the brunt. But if players aren't pulling their weight, but then where does that come from? If players are not in a cohesive unit, then surely it's the manager or a coach or something that has to take.
First and foremost, it comes from the player.
Like the will to want to be a part of it.
No, they're picking up good money. They're paying in front of fans who are paying good money, who travel the country. You've got to have a little bit of personal pride about what you're doing and your own performance. Whether that equates to your team winning games or not, you kind of just, it's his fault. He set us up wrong formation. We're not playing the right way. We're too defensive. I think that's a load of garbage. That's players looking for excuses.
Yeah. Bellerin is kind of it's a bit of a weird one because he's gone from being a fan favourite to actually taking quite a lot of the brunt. And I don't know if it was actually aimed at him or because he happened to be taking the throw-in.
Well, that's another good question for you, actually. Is it, for someone who played on the wing...
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Yeah, you're right next to it. And I think Bellerin got a lot of abuse last night because he's not been playing very well in the last few months. But he's also, he's on that side. I guess you would have that in two ways. One with the fans, always. But two, on one of the halves when you're going past your manager, right? What's it? Yeah, you just can start to block that out as well.
Fortunately, and I have to say, in 20 odd years, I never had it from my own fans, both as personally and as a team. So I'm quite lucky in that. So I'm only speculating or assuming what that must be like. But that can't do the players any good. But at the same time, that's the fans saying, "We've had enough. This is not good enough. This is not what we're used to watching. We don't want to come here and get embarrassed."
Yeah.
So you can understand it from that point of view, but I can only assume that if I was a player, how would I feel? Well, I don't really know because it never happened. So,
where would you get the most abuse from, even the opposition fans? What were the grounds? Because Loftus Road is that's a tough one in itself. You're a yard away from the fans.
Loftus Road is. I played at some great clubs, at some great stadiums. And I say it, and I'm not just saying it because I'm connected to the club, Loftus Road. When you're going well, when the team's playing well, and probably under lights, and it's packed, there's no better place to play. The atmosphere inside Loftus Road when we were going well was incredible. Really, really was. Hostile places, worst place. I wouldn't like to say worst because I've got to walk up the road later on. Places like Leeds used to be very hostile. Birmingham, when I played for Wolves, was very hostile. West Ham. It was very hostile.
What about hostile managers on the side there as you're running past? Who's the loudest manager on the touchline?
I remember Ferguson went for me once because I accidentally stood on my mate Paul Parker. And he was waiting for me at half time.
Really?
And his face was bright red and he was growling, and I think I got behind Alan MacDonald and ran up the top.
Wow.
So obviously I've got your greatest moment of your career here, and this is subjective.
Go on.
Winning the League Cup with Tottenham. 10 men.
Made all the difference, actually. That 3 minutes I played.
I know. I thank you for it, because that was it was a tough part of the game. We had managed to score, and for those who don't know, this is a glorious moment for me, because I didn't get to Wembley, but Alan Nielsen,
diving header,
scored the diving header, and I was having a tinkle in the toilet at the time and came running out. I didn't have time to do up my jeans, so went into the.
Waddled out.
I wasn't waddling out. I had them halfway up. They were just open and dirt. But and that's the glory of football. You lose yourself. It doesn't matter whether your Tadger's out or anything. So but yeah, it was a great. I mean, I know you come off the bench, and Ginola didn't have a great game that day. I think you probably should have come on a bit earlier, but he was kind of such an important player for us. Is it difficult being in a changing room with someone who's loved by the fans but probably doesn't work as hard as other players? Is that ever an issue?
No, not really, because I think that year that we won the Cup, David won us games on his own. Yeah. I played a lot of that season as a left back. Yeah. George Graham said just sitting behind him. It was probably the easiest 25 games I had, actually, because I had Ginola in front of me, so I just used to give him the ball and back him up. I had Sol Campbell alongside me, so I used to get as tight as you like. Anything over the top, Sol would get. Yeah. My first game I played with David, I knocked him the ball and I went overlapping. I got the biggest rollicking off George Graham ever. I said, it's the right thing to do, boss. He went, you won't get back and help you, so just give him it and stay behind him. So David was an incredible player. Could, like a lot of players of his ilk, he could win you games, but in certain games could go missing. You know, Leeds away on a cold Tuesday night in January. Yeah. George used to actually say to me, it's like playing with 10 men. But the majority of the time, absolute genius.
From an outsider, as a fan's perspective, did they get on?
Intense.
George and
they did.
Yeah, a lot of people thought they wouldn't, because George came in with this hard taskmaster image, and he was like that.
Very direct manager as well, typically.
And I like George, because what you saw with George, I was either black or white. George would say, you're in the side, do this, or I'll get someone that doesn't. I quite like that. Yeah. There's no flaring it up, so George knew the importance of David at the time. He knew he could win games. He knew what he wanted from him. He knew what he couldn't do. You talk about the cup final. As soon as we scored, he pulled him off and put me on to do not the flamboyant sort of side of things, but the more shored up, if you like.
Well, we're down to 10, weren't we?
Exactly. So, but no, great guy, great player. And that season he won Player of the Year, Football Players Player of the Year. Yeah, rightly so.
How did it feel to not start that game?
I was gutted, actually, because I'd taken part in the semi-final. I'd played up the some games leading up. We'd gone through some team shape on the day before you tootle off to the hotel up near St Albans. So I had an inkling, but you never quite know. But 1:30 team meeting, team today is boys.
So he tells you on the day?
Yeah. That's when he actually announced the team. We knew the day before, because we had gone through some free kicks. So you know, when you're as players, contrary to what people think, you're not stupid. Yeah. You have a.
And you were saying you played left back a lot. So were you thinking I might get in a left back in that game, or left wing? Because Justin Edinburgh was the one who got sent off.
I always thought it was always going to be left back. But in my mind, cup final, knowing George, I knew he'd go with a recognised left back with Justin. And your match winner with David. So in my mind, I was preparing to be on the bench. You're half hoping you'd be in the starting 11. You're disappointed when it gets named, but you got to, someone might get injured in the warm up. You got to prepare yourself properly. And you know what? Whether it was 3 minutes, 30 minutes, or the whole game, I can actually say to my kids and my grandkids when I have them.
What's that moment like when you're on the halfway line, bouncing up and down, ready to go on? Yeah. Is it relief that you get on?
Yeah, a little bit. A bit of everything, actually. And you're 1-0 up and you're thinking, don't want to make a mistake, or just keep things nice and simple and kind of get an early touch of the ball. But I think my first touch was a throw-in, and I was on for 3 minutes. I think it took 2.5 minutes to take a throw-in, just to waste some time. So, as I say, and whatever club you're playing for, you walk up those steps, you pick that cup up, you celebrate on the pitch in front of your fans, you become a kid again for about half an hour, you know, and you look back at some footage and go, did I really do that? Was I really dancing like that?
It's stuff like that, hearing stuff like that, because you don't feel attached to the footballers at your football club, not certainly much now, and even then to a certain extent, you kind of see guys like you and Ginola and I was going to say Sol Campbell, but some other players, you know, you look at them and you think they're more than just, they're not human, they're idols, and that is wishy-washy, but when you're a kid, that's how you see it, that's how you look at it, you see that and you think, I'd love to be able to do that, but I won't be able to, so I can live vicariously through you, and then when you talk about being a kid again and stuff, that's what you want to hear from a fan. That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I guess it must be crazy for you. You're stepping into that picture that you've always just looked at from afar. That must be.
Well, as a kid, you're growing up. You know, I used to grow up in Newcastle. You know, and I used to, you know, when the FA Cup used to be the whole day, you used to sit in front of the telly from about 10 o'clock. So when you go to Wembley with your team and you win,
that's a big thing too, isn't it? Winning.
That's why you played.
Yeah.
That's why you play.
So for anyone who doesn't know what Andy's up to now, Andy's actually a club ambassador for QPR, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on is that I've seen the strides that as a QPR fan I feel the club has made in terms of kind of bringing everything together and bringing the fans in the club and players and ex-players all together, and it feels. The guys tell you, like, around the office, I'm a lot more excited about QPR than I have been. So I think the first question is that because a lot of other clubs will probably have these club ambassadors, and it's quite a new thing, I think, overall. What do you do? What is this role? Because I think some people don't
come and talk to you on a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, no, but I think you do. What I've noticed is that I think you do a lot more work than people probably would realise or would associate with that title.
Yeah, well, pleased to say that because it's a part-time role at this moment in time, but it's more than there's never a part-time role. There's a hell of a lot of work goes into certain things. What I would say, I feel privileged to be back at the club and serving the club in this capacity. There's some great people at the club work incredibly hard behind the scenes, you know, to make sure the team behind the team can perform, if that makes sense. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way it goes on a Saturday or a Tuesday night, a lot of the stuff behind the scenes gets clouded or masked by the performance and the result. That's the nature of the beast. But what do I do? Bit of everything. So I'll help our media team out, who are incredible and, you know, very forward sort of thinking. I'll be at the training ground. I'll be speaking to players, whether it be the first team or academy. I'll do the odd bit of coaching. I'll certainly help out with the community projects, which is a vital part of our football club. And Andy Evans and his team do a great work. Your community programme, in many senses, is your face of the club. You know, a lot of people turn up on a Saturday. 20,000 people turn up on a Saturday and they watch the game. There's a lot of stuff that's going on during the week that goes under the radar, but that's trying to find your next generation of fans, trying to portray the club in a good light that people want to be associate with it rather than go up the road and support the teams in the Premier League. Not mentioning any names, but so it's a bit of the forever hours that we set up. Is incredibly rewarding. It's incredibly time consuming. Yeah. Because sometimes people see 10 minutes on the half time where Paul does a great job, interviewing the guys. But
so for those who don't know, sorry, what is Forever Ours?
The Forever Ours is a newly formed this year, where it's a former players association, for want of a phrase, where we're QPR, I'm told, and you can see, and the fans say, lost its way over recent years in terms of what it was, the type of club it was. It's always been a family club, always should be a family club, but when I came back, they were just starting to get some former players back at the club, which I think is huge. Football's about today, and it's about tomorrow, and it's about the next result. But don't forget your past, don't forget your history, don't forget who's done well for the club. Fans love to see it. So the Forever Ours is people say, well, what actually is it? It's probably easier to answer what it's not. It's not a Hall of Fame like a lot of clubs have. It's not just for the elitist players, the best players. Although because you've been a best player and played in the best teams, you'll probably naturally get in it anyway. But there's so many people who have contributed to our football club over the years, in terms of the way they've played, but also the work they've done behind the scenes, which no one sees or no one even hears about. that deserve to be, 1, recognised, 2, celebrated, 3, thanked. So that's what we're trying to do. We've had some incredible people back at the stadium this year. I think we launched in the middle of October. Already we've had 50 something ex-players back. We induct players into it posthumously, you know, people who are sadly not there. We had a big launch with a 66, 67 double winning team, you know, which was incredible to be involved with and to see those guys. And when you get those guys back, particularly the older guys, it does them a bit of good. It's almost like a bit of therapy for them. You can see them, they love people to stop them and ask for an autograph and ask for a photo and ask, you know, to tell me about that goal and stuff like that. So it's just a way of getting these players back and making them feel appreciated for what they did at Queen's Park Rangers Football Club. Fans love it, I love it, and hopefully it'll continue.
And there's a value there, I think, that is very difficult to quantify. You can't count it, but that bringing together and those I guess it's about any relationship. It's about memories and moments that you share together, and so to get that's like a kind of untapped world that QPR I don't think hasn't been able to tap into as well as it could have, and I think it's something that's
well. The good thing
really,
about
really
QPR
well.
and what we're doing now, a lot of people have seen what maybe should have been done, but we've actually done it now, and it's, you know, a lot of people, you know, it doesn't sit particularly great. A lot of people say, "Oh, thanks, Andy." It's not just me. Yeah. It's not just me. I'm maybe at the front of it, but there's a hell of a lot goes on behind me to make sure it happens. But someone like a Dave Thomas the other night, you know, we got him down for the whole weekend, him and his wife and his guide dog. So it wasn't just. And I'm a great believer, and I say to people at the club, you can invite people, and you can invite people. So anyone can be invited somewhere and stuck in a corner, and we've done our bit. But you can invite people and make a real fuss of them, make it special for them, make whoever they bring, their guests, you know, make sure the food's right, make sure they're really, really looked after. We've had some incredible feedback. Dave Thomas the other night, you know, Paul interviewed him, broke down a couple of times. Yeah. But it wasn't. He was actually. I've spoken to Dave over the last few months. He's probably one of the most positive people I spoke to, and his tears were actually tears of joy.
Yeah, you could tell.
And tears of thanks.
Yeah.
Not poor me syndrome. You know.
So Dave Thomas, for people who don't know, played for England. Was a winger in our 1975-76 team, which is QPR's greatest ever team, and he'd got. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Paul. He got glaucoma, and is now blind. He's not blind. He's going blind. Yeah. Going blind. But yeah, he came in, was inducted into the Forever Ours Club, and was interviewed by Paul from the media team, and yeah, it was tears of joy of the support that he'd got from the fans.
Yeah.
And me and my dad next to me were both welling up, and it was, again, you can't quantify that, but that's a really strong moment that you share together.
I think what it sounds like is it's about harnessing positive energy. And for a long time, bear with me. But for a long time, I thought I'm not really interested in getting married. I'm never going to get married. But then my brother got married, and he said the amount of positive energy you felt towards you, everyone was there for you. And then you imagine if you would translate that to a football pitch where you've got, like Loftus Road, essentially 4 walls of positive energy going towards you and supporting you when you're going through moments of difficulty and recognition of the fact that actually people remember me for what I did for QPR, and I might not be one of the more mercurial players, but I had a function and I did my job, and people are remembering that, and you know, it's almost like the monetary aspect to it is not important. It's helpful and it is important, but it's the fact that actually I'm remembered.
Yeah, I think it's massive. Yeah, I think it is. You're right. Our greatest player, Stan Bowles, is a player who's is a man who's going through something very difficult now. He has Alzheimer's, and that is the Forever Ours Club is there now. But the whole situation with Stan is one that's, I think, is very emotive and quite a difficult one for the club to kind of deal with. Some criticism from some fans has been that Stan, I think it was maybe summer 2015, it was made public that he had Alzheimer's, and so there was that outpouring of feeling from the fans of like, we need to do something because he's our number one guy. We need to help him with the care that's needed for him as he battles with Alzheimer's. And some criticism to the club has been that a match in particular hasn't been set up quickly enough. I know Lee Hoo's touched on it a little bit, but as an ex-player, what's been your feeling of this whole situation? Because I think it's quite unique with Stan, because one, he's our greatest ever player, but secondly, a condition like that has such a fast pace to it in terms of deterioration of someone that kind of almost makes people, fans, even more emotive about it. What's been your experience?
Well, if I can just echo everything you said there, and totally agree with everything you said there. Stan arguably is QPR's finest ever player. You know, over the years, that's not even up for debate. You know, secondly, I think everyone really sympathises with the illness. It's a horrible illness. Yeah. You know, not only for the person who's got it, but you know, for the people who've immediately got to care for that person and see them living with it on a daily basis. What I would say, and I hear what you're saying regarding the football club, from day one the football club has been 100% supportive of doing something for Stan. Where the negativity or the confusion or the lack of urgency may be coming in from, if you're going to do something for anybody, and I say anybody, and there's a significant money amount going to be raised, that has to be done properly.
Because that is the aim, isn't
that
it?
Has to,
it's
and
all
that
good
has
and well
to,
having a game.
That has to be the aim. It has to be done properly. So I think what the club's stance has been is we will support whatever we want to do, or whatever some people want to do, but it has to be done properly. There has to be a proper committee put in place to share the burden and all the decision making and make sure every angle, you know, the tax implications are sort of covered and this, that and the other. So I think that's where possibly the delay was that, but that wasn't the club being obstructive. That was the club saying, you know what, we want this to happen more than anybody. I would like to see it happen more than anybody, but it has to be done right, it has to be done properly. The club and Lee, who's in particular, are in regular contact with Stan's family to keep them up to date. They're really...
So what's the situation now?
They're delighted with the way things are ongoing and what the club have done. Lee's working closely with a newly formed committee, which he believes are the right people now to get this across the line with the club's support. And I think we're quite close, and people might say, well, Lee said that at the fans forum, we're quite close to being able to announce a game very, very soon. We thought, or I say we, the club on the committee of Stan, thought they had one. But when you've got a game, you need opposition. Now, we've got no control over the opposition. If someone lines someone up, then they get something different or better and retract on what they might say. And then you're back to square one. But from what I know, they're very, very close. And as I say, it'll be a good day for everybody.
The importance of being, because it does, unfortunately, that part of it, that crucial part of it, of actually setting it up properly, isn't very exciting. It's not exciting. Let's go and play.
Just do it now.
Let's play a game. We'll play a game of football, raise loads of money, and we'll give it all to him, and it'll be fine. But there's no legacy in that. Yeah. That's just a one-off tokenistic thing. Yeah. And actually, the legacy, and I'd imagine most people would feel this way, is that ultimately, if it's done properly, the overall good is much greater than that just that one moment. And I have no.
And the common denominator here is for the benefit of Stan and his family. Yeah. Now, if that needs to take a back seat for another couple of months to get it done properly, so Stan and his family get the maximum benefits, that has to be what it's all about. Surely.
I mean, that's why this is talking about it's a positive thing, because most football fans, they want everything immediately. I do. I want success now. I want everything, but it's, and often at clubs they don't speak openly, and it's good that QPR have kind of taken this stance, because it's a very open, you know, you're saying this is what's happening and these are the reasons why. And I think when people are armed with that information, then you're like, all right, I understand. It's just when nothing, you know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I also think it feels like it's coming out of this chat is that we talk about legacy. I think it feels like the learnings of that whole situation, as heartbreaking as it is, feels like the club have not just gone, okay, well, let's just sort out Stan and leave it. They're looking to try and do something that does have a legacy. Yeah. Is that how you feel like it's worked out?
No, not sure a legacy, but you want to do something that has a lasting impact. Yeah. Not only for Stan, but maybe for others as well, you know. But Stan's the one on the forefront at the minute. I've had the pleasure of meeting Stan on a few occasions. Lovely guy, unfortunately he's going through what he's going through now, but the club are committed to helping to pull something off, and that'll be very, very soon, we hope.
Interesting.
Good. Can we ask some questions?
Can I just ask you about Gazza?
Please do.
What was it? Just because I just saw it there on a bit of paper, and he's like Stan Bowles, like David Ginola.
Mercurial.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, you played for England with him. Do you have? I always love a Gazza story if you've got any, or what was it like being around him? What's it like being around a England hotel room with him? Yeah, what I don't want to say best memories.
First of all, Paul Gascoigne was, what could I say? I think I said genius regarding David Ginola, but genius is, he was that good. Yeah. He could do things in a game, in training, that you'd go, wow. Then he'd do it again. So it wasn't a sort of a fluke, Lovely guy, give anyone anything. Maybe that's half his problem. Obviously got some demons in his life that take over from time to time, but...
Did you ever worry about him? Even then, because what was it like? What was the first time you met him? Can you remember that?
I met him. I played against QPR. We played against Tottenham, and but actually we grew up in the same part of the country. But we never really crossed. I think I'm a year older than Gazza, and we used to play for separate districts, and so we came across anyone. And as a 15 or 16-year-old, I played against him, and you would, if someone had said he's going to be a world superstar, you would have gone, "You're joking."
Really?
But a bit bigger. Was that it?
But he was incredible. He had he was great up at Newcastle, and then he went down to Tottenham, and I think he had a season at Tottenham where he was electrifying. He almost got him to the cup final on his own that year.
Every round.
But then was pumped up in the cup final, and makes that tackle, and then he loses a big part of his career, and he comes back, and because he's wants to show the world he can get back, he comes back twice as fit as anybody else, and did a bleep test once at Lilleshall with all the cameras there. It was his first training session. He wiped the floor with everyone.
Really?
Because he had that ability to, I'm going to show you. Because people had written him off, he'd not come back from that.
It's funny you say that, actually, because it's almost that having that drive or something to aim for would distract you from the demons, as you'd say.
Yeah.
And his focus was getting back to where he was and playing football.
Well, that's where Paul, and I'm not speaking out of turn, but that's where Paul Gascoigne was probably when he felt free and happiest, was on the green pitch. Yeah. It was what happened when he went off the pitch and out with certain people and into certain establishments and free time. That was probably where things started to creep in that he couldn't control. Sad to see, where he is, and the state that he's in, because we should be talking about Paul Gascoigne as probably the finest player. Certainly in my dad used to tell me about George Best and people like that. We're talking about Stan Bowles at QPR, but for me, Paul Gascoigne should be talked about as a world great. He was that good, and I can only say I was privileged to share a dressing room, play in the same team.
What was the funniest thing you ever did? Don't worry.
I've got too many. Funniest thing, the band would be playing at Wembley, and he would deliberately pick out someone who's blowing the trumpet and ping a ball 40 yards, and stupid, really stupid, childish things.
And I can
but behind the clown was a really heartfelt human being. Remember, I had my first boy, Daniel. When we were in the England side, and Gazza went, "Oh, what's his name?" I said, Daniel. He said, "Next time I'm over from Lazio, I'll bring you my shirt." Of course you will. Yeah. 8 months later, knock on the door. He said, "There's the shirt for you, lad." And he had remembered the name. I still got it. Little things like that.
That's an incredible touch, because people do say stuff, and it's nice even to hear it. Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
And you didn't have to ask him. It was a knock on the door, but he would. He was a great guy, a fantastic player, and it's quite sad to see that.
Did he infuriate anyone?
Probably managers, yeah.
Or any other, because it sounds like he couldn't behave. He had to always be like telling a joke.
Oh, he's always doing something. He was too much sometimes. Sometimes you just say, just settle down. Just give me half an hour on a bus, will you guys? I'm fed up with hearing your voice, or what, I've heard that one before, or whatever. But he's just non-stop. And
there was this bit of footage with Abel Xavier, the fullback. I think it was when he was at Everton and he was going to go, and they're talking, and he's having this really, really stern conversation with a reporter. Are there any rooms? And he's like, he's proper straight batting it, and Gazza just hangs out and goes, "Don't go away, love! Don't go away, Paul! Please don't go!" And there's just like this smile just appears on his face. It's fucking amazing.
Unreal.
I remember. I'll tell you one. We went to the theatre. Graham Taylor was massive on the theatre and loved Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
So he took us all at the theatre. So Gazza's sitting there, imagine the theatre. He's rustling all his papers, and people are going shh, shh, shh. And just before Buddy Holly is about to get on the plane, he stands up, goes, "Don't get on the plane, it crashes."
Bloody hell.
Amazing.
That is amazing. We've got some questions.
Go on.
These are general questions. Some of them are belters. I've just read one down here from Bardi. Bardi TFC, he says, "Have you ever achieved a footballing cliche? Like, have you ever burst the back of a net? Have you ever rose like a salmon to head a ball? Have you ever put one on a sixpence? And have you had a game of two halves where you've been blinding in one and
I've had many games of two halves. I've had many games of no halves. Football cliches.
Well, that's a good one, that last one.
Yeah, so what was it a game where you think, I'm playing blinding, and then next half, it's like, what has happened? Has anything spring to mind?
Oh dear. Everton scored a hat-trick actually. No one realises. Everyone lauds about to score my only ever hat-trick. I had a shock in the second half. I give 2 goals away.
Yeah.
But because I got 3, we won 4-2. That was forgotten. Jerry Francis hammered me after the game.
Did he?
First hat-trick, and he was like,
Yeah.
That's like, you got ball in your hand.
Yeah.
Jerry, chill out.
Danny Rose's debut at Tottenham, I remember it for that goal he scored against Arsenal, the volley. Insane goal. Just the way the ball the way it flew into the net, it was bizarre the technique he managed to get on it. But he was subbed because he was so bad.
Really? Half time?
Yeah, he was
I had no idea.
he was pulled from half time because he was so bad. I mean, we all know what a great footballer he is now, so I'm not digging him out. But
a goal washes away
of course it
anything.
does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean that commentary on that goal, Spurs fans still talk about it. I'm not gonna do it, but
Checked it half time.
yeah. Pulled at half time. If you could go back and change, this is from Everton with an X. If I don't know what that means. If you could go back and change any decision you made as a footballer, what would it be, and why? Is there anything you regret?
Oh wow.
Sorry, these are quite big. I should have pre-warned you these.
Any decision? No, not really. I'm not one to look back. At the time, for want of a better phrase, you pay your money, you take your chance, and you get on with it. If life deals you a good hand, you take it. If you get a bad one, you still got to get on with it. So no, I wouldn't change anything.
You played with Clive Wilson.
Yep, fantastic player.
Right. The best penalty taker on earth ever. Have you ever seen him miss a penalty?
No, many in training, but not in a game. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So someone sent in this question about penalties. Faruha, it says it's taking a penalty really difficult. How can a professional footballer really miss a 7 by 5 metre wide goal from a few metres away? It does seem kind of bizarre.
Did you ever take any penalties?
Yeah, I took a few. Took a couple of QPR. Took a couple of Cambridge when I was a 17-year-old. Missed one at Leeds. Hit the bar. Remember getting brought down at Leeds 17. Went through. Hostile crowd, as we touched on earlier on. I picked the ball up, turned around, waiting for all the experienced boys that were back in half hour line. Go on you go, Since you can take that. So against David Harvey. How can anyone miss a penalty?
I mean,
were you nervous at that moment as a 17?
No, I was never nervous taking penalty. How can anyone miss a penalty? You could turn that around and say, how does Alex Smithy save so many? You got a 50-50 chance. I think the big thing in England have suffered more than anyone is just the moment, the pressure, the state of the game. Certainly in penalty shootouts, which I was involved in too. You just got to try and shut it out, pick your spot.
So which ones were you involved in?
Grimsby away, QPR beat, actually scored an own goal in that game as well. Deflection. And the great Alan MacDonald for QPR tucked in the winner. But that's all about the moment. People say you should practice penalties. Well, they do, but you cannot practice in front of 80,000 people and 80 million people on the telly. You cannot practice
as a pro. You can put the football wherever you want.
That's what I'm saying. It's the pressure of the
moment.
The
pressure.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in the office. Why were so many left backs taking penalties around that time? Stuart Pearce, Clive Wilson, Hinchcliffe,
Julian Dix.
Mark Bowen's a right back, but he used to take them as well.
Fullbacks taking penalties.
That was the chance to get a goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's all about confidence, I suppose. There's been many great centre forwards.
Dennis Irwin, that was him.
I think Kenny Dalglish never took a penalty. Someone told me, and you would think, he's one of the world's best ever strikers.
Yeah.
Comes down to confidence. Who fancies them on a day?
But there are no centre backs take penalties. So
That's
is
true.
it about technique? The repetition. I would imagine you need. No, but actually, centre backs play long balls. Alderweireld plays. I don't understand it. Why
What's going on here?
What is going on with football?
No idea.
Yeah, well, there we go.
One for Adam, I think, asked me as a Brentford fan. Was it Brentford 2 QPR?
Sorry?
Was it Brentford
Yeah.
2 QPR?
Yeah.
What was it like making that step up from a tiny little club like Brentford to a juggernaut of QPR?
That's a bit harsh. What I would say again, I had 4 great years
Is
at
this
Brentford. 4
You've
great
done a lot
years
of
at
football
Brentford. And that was my big step up, from, I think, it was a no-brainer at the time because Brentford were 3rd division, QPR were in the old first. So it was that big step up, big chance. I've been waiting for it for ages. Steve Perriman, the manager at Brentford at the time, was great. So we don't have to sell you, don't want to sell you, but it's a wonderful opportunity. Go on, off you go. And I'm confident by nature. I remember getting interviewed on a Thursday before my first game. They signed me on a Thursday, deadline day. Not the razzmatazz that goes around now, it's very through the back door sort of thing, and reporter said, when do you think you're going to make your debut? I said, well, Saturday. Trevor's signed me to play, surely, hasn't he? And so I was really confident in my own ability. I went into the side, we won up at Sheffield Wednesday, I scored on my debut at Loftus Road, we beat Man United, we escaped relegation, if you like, quite comfortably that year because he had signed the likes of Peter Reid, Nigel Spatman, Colin Clark, myself. We finished really, really well. So I had no doubts about the step up, confidence in my own ability.
And what was the difference in playing for a QPR and then playing for a much bigger club in Spurs and then England again? Does it feel different?
It doesn't because as a player you just get on playing. I noticed a difference when you go into the England setup because I was the only QPR player at the time to get in the squad. So when you're used to playing against, other people and suddenly you're walking into a hotel and you're in a dressing room with them, I have to say myself, I was probably the first couple of times that I went, I was a little bit, do I really belong here? That even though you picked on merit, it's just that, and it takes you a little. So whenever someone goes into the England side and they say they should hit the ground running, well, maybe they should, but maybe there's other things that come into play. But now you just get on and play as a player. Best job in the world being a player. You just got to worry about yourself.
So,
Yeah.
Seems so.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Hector Bellerin looked a bit
Yeah,
upset.
he did seem a bit. Yeah, he did seem a bit down.
bit peeved.
Yeah.
What's going on? What did I do? We've got a few more, but they're all. I don't want to answer.
Can I ask about Euro '92?
Yeah.
Obviously not a successful one for England. But I saw you've got one story about that was quite an eventful time for you, even just getting into the squad because you were on standby, weren't you, initially? Tell us about it.
It's quite a long story actually, but I'll shorten it. Basically to go to the Euros, there's a squad of 23. So you try and cover every position with 23, with 3 goalkeepers in every position. Doesn't go. So the 6 months leading up to the Euros, Graham Taylor, God bless him, was using me in various roles. 12 of my caps I got playing left back, right wing back, in the hole, left wing. So I was a real jack of all trades and master of none, if you like, But so people were saying, press included, leading up to the Euros, because you've played in these various roles and done quite well, you're nailed on to go. So you think, okay, that might be the case, but you never want to really believe it until the squad's announced. So we played Brazil at Wembley. It was about 170 degrees on one May afternoon in the stadium. My wife's in labour with our first child. She's watching. John Barnes is injured. She's sitting next to John Barnes. So we draw 1-1 with Brazil. Now we got to go back to the hotel that night, have dinner. Then the next morning, Graham's going to announce the team to go to. So
the squad.
Yeah, the squad to go to Sweden. So I see my wife briefly for about 20 minutes after the game, and just going, Andy, there's really something going on here. I said, nah, you'll be okay. You're 3 weeks to go. Yeah, get yourself home. Stop worrying. Just I'm not really interested.
Yeah.
Just get yourself home. I'll see you tomorrow. Go on, love. Off you go.
Just leave.
yeah. So we get back to the hotel, and at 6 a.m, the phone rings. It's my wife again. She said, "You got to get home. Something's going on." I said, "Linda, we've got a meeting at got a meeting at 11. I'll be home later on.
Linda.
Yes."
And I presume she went,
Yeah.
"Oh no,
Yeah.
fair enough. I was a meeting." You call me when you're ready.
2 weeks and 6 days to go. So I know it's off first, but stop worrying. You'll be okay. See you in a few hours. So puts the phone down about another hour. She rings again. Said, seriously, you got to get home. So okay. So reluctantly,
I wonder what she was doing for that hour.
I'm walking up and down the road. So I go and get all my gear in the bag and go knocking Graham Taylor's door. And so he pulls his dressing around together. I said, Graham, I know we've got a meeting later on this morning, but my wife's in labour. I've got to go. So he says, come in, shut the door. And when when he said, sit down. He went, you've done brilliant for me. And you just go, yeah, there's a bat coming here. Yeah. He goes, but I'm a great fan of John Barnes. He said, I'm going to give him another week to prove his fitness. And unfortunately...
What a bizarre...
so as soon as he said that, I just wanted to, okay, Graham, shut up sort of thing. You've done the bit, you made your choice, let me go. And he's going, I'm not even listening anymore, really. I just want to get home. So I'm in the car, no shame, cried my eyes out in the car. Cried my eyes out, want to play for your country in a major tournament. Someone's just ripped the rug from under your feet. So anyway, I get home, so I get out of the car, my wife's walking up and down the road. I went, do you want to know what's happened? She went, get me to the hospital. I said, do you want it? Just get me to the hospital. All of a sudden, she's not interested in me anymore. Yeah. So I haven't even got, so we get in the car, get to the hospital. Doctor examines her. I said, what said the fella? Yeah, well, Linda's in there. So what's going on? He went, you'll be a dad in about an hour. So I go, poof, and nearly sort of faint sort of thing. I said, Linda, do you want to know about the squad? You went, just get out, sort of thing. So anyway, Daniel comes, so I'm crying. A few hours later, tears of joy. Go home. Linda's in hospital. I go out with my mates that night, as you do, wet the baby's head. The next day, I get a call from the BBC. Do you want to come in and watch the England-Finland game and commentate? No, go on then. Yeah, okay. Linda says, yeah, get yourself away. So I'm watching the game. John Barnes goes down injured. It doesn't click. I'm just watching the game. Afterwards, Graham comes on the telly. He goes, if you're watching the game, Andy, get your boots ready. So I'm going, yeah, brilliant, I'm going. The next morning, he rings me. He goes, hold fire, Andy. I might have been a bit tasty there. I'm going, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? He said, I'll ring you in a few hours. So my emotions are all over the place. So anyway, I get the call. That's how so I get in through the back door. Graham Taylor goes, you have been training, haven't you? Yeah, of course I have, boss. just had my first sort of child, So anyway, we meet up and I played 2 out of 3 games, really enjoyable. But we got an early plane home.
Yeah. Can I just come back to something you just mentioned in that story? You opened the door to Graham Taylor's and he was naked?
No. I knocked at the door and he was just pulling his dressing gown around.
Pulling it up, right.
That's an image you can work with now.
Yeah, because that was just stuck in my head. I've just got him delivering his horrible news, but he was just sitting
yeah, take a seat.
On the edge of the bed in a dressing gown.
It's a tough one.
It's weird because we got a question that said, have you ever seen any of your managers naked? Which is what never. No. Right, fair enough. Anything else?
Oh, that's a nice way to...
Yeah, that's a nice way to end. Yeah, that is a great story.
I could ask you a million questions.
Absolutely felt up. Hopefully we could do it again next time.
Good, yeah.
Love to.
Andy, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Cheers. And that's been the Long Ball Street podcast. So remember, you can leave all your comments in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Remember to download the podcast, share this with your friends, even if they're not QPR, because it's been quite interesting, I think.
Do it.
All right, done.